So tell us, One
Yeah.
Time Joker, how does it feel to lose some amount of buy-ins in a day?
Uh, it feels kind of frustrating, but at the same time, if you know you played well and if you're happy with the way you played in general, then you should hang on to that and be happy with that. In general, if I have a bad day or a bad week, let's say, it's fine. But if it continues to grow into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then it starts to affect my brain.
So I think that that's, I mean, you're obviously stronger than most poker players because most poker players, whenever they lose if they lose 40 buy-ins, they're just on crazy tilt. But it happens all the time, especially when you're playing multi-table tournaments with a lot of people. So, I mean, I know that whenever I play a lot of live poker, if I lose for like a year straight, it starts to get pretty frustrating. But really, that's only 100 tournaments or something like that. And even then, it's not like I'm down 100 buy-ins. And
Yeah, live poker is super tough because of that. You can't really play more than a tournament in a day.
yeah, and I think that there is a very nice thing about online poker in that it really lets you know if you are winning or not over a somewhat short period of time. Like, I mean, if you play for a year online and you're down, you're probably not doing something great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you are playing like huge tournaments, then it could happen, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that if you are playing not a ton of volume, like say you're playing, I mean, I don't know, maybe 10 tournaments per day or something like that, you can definitely have long losing periods. I know that whenever I play, I think someone ran a study a while back where they took, if you have something like 60% ROI and you play a lot, you're going to have something like 2 big winning months, a bunch of break-even months, and then a few losing months. And that sounds about accurate to me, just thinking about my years of live poker, because I've had a few really big winning years, a few break-even years, and a few losing years. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's really just a volume game, and you have to put in a decent amount of volume. Before we started the stream, One Time Joker was telling me he made a few, what were effectively not recognizing what was going on at the table, errors. How many tables were you playing when that happened?
Oh, I've bumped up my number of tables. I'm playing like 10 tables on average now.
Okay. And
Um,
so why have you done that?
so a bit more. I just felt like I could handle it, and yeah, it was a little bit too much, but I've been playing like 16 tables well in the past, so I think I can get it to work
Yeah,
to around 10 tables or so. I think I can do it.
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely fine with you playing 10 as long as you're paying attention. You're going to find that anytime you do add more tables, you do start misclicking or just not recognizing what's going on a little bit more. And I think that's just a function of your attention being pulled way too much one way or the other.
Yeah,
And that's going to
yeah,
happen. And I think that, I mean, you have to realize, like, say maybe you have normally 50% ROI or something. If you all of a sudden start doubling the number of games, if you make one
you
or two
can.
mistakes like that over the course of a day, it's not really going to kill your ROI that much.
No.
It might hurt your ROI like 10% or something. Each of those misclicks may have hurt 10% or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, it's tough to quantify it, just talking here on the fly, but it can't be that detrimental. And obviously, whenever you're playing,
Li-
go ahead.
It's gonna start to affect you whenever you're making deep runs. Like, for example, if I have uh, a tournament that it's really sweet, let's say we're the final 20 players in a tournament, and the prizes are decent and everything looks good and the tournament is juicy, then I don't really want to have 10 tables at that point. I mean, I'm managing them so that um, I don't get to have a lot of tables whenever I have deep runs like that.
Yeah, I mean, so what I do is like say the current screen we have pulled up on Twitch, which is just this one table. If this is my monitor, I usually cascade my game sort of like across the screen, and then I'll pull my important tables either to the top right or the bottom right.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think that that's definitely an important thing to do. Just make sure you're differentiating the games that are relevant. And anytime I start to get anywhere near the money in most tables, I tend to put them somewhere special to where I can know that that's where those tables I really need to focus on are at. And I'm not going to
yeah,
say I like blindly autopilot the other ones, but I definitely don't really pay too much attention.
Yeah, I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I'm just keeping them tiled, and I move tournaments based on how deep I am in them on the screen.
All right, we're replying to a few people in the chat box real quick. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So for those who do not know, OnetimeJoker has been my student for quite a long time now, probably 4 years or so at this point.
Yeah, I think it's about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a professional poker player. I suppose is that what you're calling yourself?
Well, I'm living off of poker, so yeah, I guess you can call it a professional poker player.
Okay, and yeah, so we're gonna go through this. For those who are aware, I've actually recorded all of the coaching sessions I've done with OnetimeJoker, and I will actually be raffling off videos of all of those about 40 minutes into the stream. And then after that, I'm also going to raffle off my new ebook called Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Tournaments, which was a book I made particularly for a lot of the new people who are finding me on Twitch, because a lot of those players are not really advanced enough for a lot of the concepts that I teach in some of the more robust training packages, and I wanted to make something that would help get you guys up to speed. So I'll be talking about that at the end of this webinar. So we'll go ahead and get to it. What tournament is this that we are looking at on the screen?
Oh, this is a 10 euro six max. I haven't played a lot of six max in general, so I want to start getting my feet wet in those as well. Like 1 or 2 years ago when I tried a few six max, it didn't go so good for me, and I decided not to worry about those. But now recently I've been playing them, and I've been winning a little bit in them.
Yeah, I think the six max.
Also the games are I feel like the six max games are a little bit softer than the nine-handed games.
So I don't really know if they're softer, but I think that you can definitely put yourself in spots to play with the weak players more often. And so,
Yeah.
like, for example, you have this guy on your right, Audrey, who, I mean, we only have 13 hands on this player, but the stats are absurd, 69/8. Whereas you can really target that guy in six max, whereas in full ring it's going to be a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think these games are definitely good. All right, so first hand we have here. I don't really know how fast we're going to go through these hands. I'm going to try to get through the whole hand history, but it is 500 hands.
We can go for, I mean, we can look a little bit in the early stages, then in the middle stages, and maybe we can get closer to the final table and finish it.
All right, perfect. So on this first hand, this guy raises a small blind. I guess you call a 10-9 pretty much every time, given you're in position with 200 big blind stacks.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing that.
Seems fairly standard. He checks, you bet. Obviously, that's fine. And he folds. No problem.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just go through the hands that are either big winners or big losers. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so I like 3x big blind raise whenever you're deep stacked.
Yeah, we're super deep, so I like to even 4 times the 4xing it in those smaller stakes games. I feel like it's working pretty well. Just you can maneuver the pot size pretty well if you make it 4x just in the first 2 blind levels.
That is true. I'm always deathly afraid, though, that making it 4x will make the opponents play tighter, but you think it just does not matter?
No, in in the smaller stakes, it doesn't matter. Like if you're playing a $50 game, then yeah, maybe it starts to matter then. But I would experiment with it even then.
Okay. I mean, I know that whenever I'm facing a 4x raise, I just start folding everything. But I mean, maybe the opponents don't. So
well, when you're 4xing, you're not targeting players such as yourself. You're targeting people that really want to see flops.
Yeah, I mean, it could have the exact perfect result. It can make the good players fold and the bad players call.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's ideal. All right.
Yeah.
So check min raise. You have to call facing the min raise, obviously.
Yeah.
Pretty standard. So there are some people in the chat. If you guys want to ask questions.
Have any questions? Yeah, sure.
If you have questions, feel free to ask them. But this is my coaching session with OnetimeJoker for the week. So we're going to primarily gear it towards OnetimeJoker. But if any good questions come up, I'll try to answer them. All right. So on this turn, does he check? Is that what happens here? He checks turn. So what do you think when he checks the turn?
He may have something like a 7, maybe a weak 8. I don't think he has a draw. I'm. He may have a draw, but honestly, they don't play the draw so aggressively in these $10 games. So I really think he has something, some kind of a pair.
Do you think you can barrel him off of it by betting the turn in the river?
No, no, not that guy.
So you think he's? I mean, anytime you see a guy who's V, which is his VPIP, is 69%, the guy's not trying to fold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I don't really.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I never want to. Yeah, I never want to bluff these guys who are playing a lot. It looks like I'm playing a lot as well, but in reality, my stats right here are like 18, 14 or something because a lot of those stats are I gather them at the heads up where I played virtually everything.
Yeah, and you do need somewhat loose aggressive stats playing six-handed, but obviously your current stats, as it seems, are probably too aggressive. But I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is
in this game. In this game, I had the long heads-up match, so that's why they're so inflated. But in reality, like I said, they're even less than 18-14, maybe 17-12 or something, 15-12. I don't know.
You think your stats are 15-12?
Yeah, 17
Six-handed?
to 15. Yeah.
You're super net.
I've been playing pretty tight, and it worked out decent. I mean, like you see in the bar here, I've played like 2 hands over, I don't know, 10 hands or
This
what's
is
there,
two,
15 hands?
2 over 22 so far. 2 significant hands, though. I
Yeah.
mean, to be fair,
Yes.
like this doesn't count the 10-9 offsuit hand you played on the first hand, so you're probably playing more than that. But
Yeah.
I definitely think you don't need to be too crazy. You're going to find that in six-handed poker, people either play way too loose or way too tight. And I think there's a lot of value in just being somewhere in the middle. I think a lot of people overcompensate or undercompensate.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, so here you raise. Oh, for people who are asking, this is a €10 buy-in, and OnetimeJoker won it. So when was this? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, so raise continuation bet seems fine.
Yeah, I could continuation bet less. I think I just hit half pot button, but I think it would work something like a third of the pot there. Don't really need to.
So that's another thing that I have a tough time dealing with in small stakes games. Like if you bet, say, a third pot, do you think the guy's all of a sudden going to start calling with all sorts of stuff? Like any
yeah, I think so. But on 853, I think these kind of boards are worth going for 1/3 pot. But in general, you really want to see bet a little bit bigger in the smaller stakes games because they just call with everything.
Yeah, you also want to bet bigger in general whenever you're really deep stacked because that's going to allow you to bet bigger on the turn in the river when you actually have a good hand.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know if there's any point in balancing in these games. Like, I mean, if you can get away with betting a third pot, then obviously bet a third pot. That'd be way better.
Yeah. You don't really need to balance at all in these games.
So I found that whenever I'm playing a lot of tables, I generally am not adjusting to the particular buy-in size and particular opponents. I mean, I'm adjusting to the opponents, but I'm not really adjusting my bet sizes too much, and maybe I don't do that quite enough. But I try to just be more balanced in general, and maybe that is probably a small leak in the small stakes games.
Well, yeah, maybe, but you can't really fill all the leagues everywhere. If you're playing like 15 tables, I mean, you are going to have some weak spots here and there.
Yeah, and I guess being balanced is not so bad.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, being balanced is not that bad at all.
All right, so you bet the turn when you get the king. The guy calls. This seems fine. I mean, I think betting the turn is good. Do you plan on betting the river if he calls on the turn?
No.
So I think
not really.
I would go one of two ways. I would either check, call the turn, and check, call the river, or I would bet the turn, then check the river. But I feel like
I'd like to check the river.
I feel like you could get more equity by checking the turn and letting him bluff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so say he has 8-7 or something, right? He may not bet the turn, but if it goes check on the turn, he's probably going to call a river bet.
I feel like I mean, if the guy called your c-bet on the flop, do you think he would fold here a lot?
Well, if he has like 9-7, he's going to fold.
I don't know about that.
You don't
I
think he's
mean,
going to fold to half pot?
that's why I kind of bet this because here on this side with these players in these stakes, they're not folding 9-7, something like 9-7. They're not folding.
Oh, well, definitely value bet then.
Yeah.
And so then I guess check call the river. If you think he's going to call the turn with a lot of junk, I would check call the river. But if you think he's going to call the turn with a lot of made hands, I would probably value bet the river. Because you beat a lot of the made hands.
I'm thinking about check calling, but I'm only gonna check call here with a nice bet. I'm not gonna call like a bot or something.
Okay,
I'll
so
probably fall to a bot.
all right, and that sounds actually reasonable against guys who you don't think are going to bluff you too often.
Yeah.
At least not for pot. And I guess you have found that you think that amateur players or small stakes players tend to bet bigger with their big hands and small with their small hands, or just
exactly.
big with their nuts in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, in general, they're betting when they're betting big. They kind of have it.
All right. So raise from the small blind, I think, is a default. I don't mind this, but limping's fine, folding's fine. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
We know nothing about the opponent.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting spot because it should be really... I mean, it's bad for your hand, right? It's terrible for your hand. So...
Yeah. So I really want to bet and
well,
make.
It depends on how good it is for his range.
I think his range is very wide right here. Defending in the big blind, people in general are defending something like 60% there. So I would expect to have something like 6-5 offsuit.
So my problem though is that if you bet the flop, I think you need to bet the turn a lot. And I'm not sure you want to be betting the turn a lot because you have no equity.
Why do I need to bet the turn as well?
Well, because he's going to call with any draw on the flop, or any 8 or any 10, and he may fold those if you continue betting.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if this is a bet once and give up spot because you could easily have the ace. Obviously, your opponent could easily have the ace too, but if you go bet, you probably have a pretty good hand.
Yeah, in general against these players, I mean, a lot of players in these smaller stakes games are gonna call you even twice with an 8. So
well, then bet 3 times.
bet 3 times, but I'm not sure if they're gonna fold the 8 even then, because especially in the war against small blind against the big blind. So I would say that this is an okay spot to bet only once.
Yeah, I definitely think you either need to bet once or bet 3 times. I don't think 2 is a good option.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with betting once. So you like to bet twice when you get the draw.
Yeah.
And
I got the draw, decide to go for another one.
Seems perfectly reasonable. Opponent calls. So now, do you bluff the river?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, we just determined that betting twice is probably not good.
Yeah, but now that the ace paired, I mean, he's gonna have an easy call with an 8 or with a 10, and that's the problem.
Well, yeah, he could also have Jack 9. He's not going to fold ever.
Yeah.
He
8-7.
Yeah.
Well,
he might fold 8-7. I mean, what do you mean? He could. I mean, the 8-7 is just the 8.
Yeah, but that's yeah. No, 8-7 is just the 8. Yeah, right.
So really, if you're trying to get him to fold worse than an ace, I mean, I don't hate it. I think this would be okay.
No, I think it's not okay here because people are just calling.
All right.
I mean, 8-9 here is gonna tank a lot and then call. Whatever. I mean, the big blind against the small blind, you're bluffing me because you're in the small blind, so I call.
All right.
I mean, that's their logic, so.
Fair enough then. Yeah, so I guess check fold. I hate... My only issue with this is that trying to be balanced, thinking about a balanced range, I hate checking in the spot because this is the worst hand in my range.
Yeah.
And I'm never opposed to betting with the worst hand in my range.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. And actually, if I think... I think the hand threw really well right now. I think I should have checked the turn as well.
So are you check calling the turn though?
I was check calling the turn, then just give it up.
Fair enough. Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you check the river. He bets you fold, obviously.
Yeah.
Just occurred to me I did not.
I know this is really weird, but that's how people are playing in these smaller stakes games. So you don't really have folding equity. It's super hard to get them to fold.
Okay, yeah, and definitely do not try to get people to fold if they're obviously just never folding.
Yeah.
Looks like I forgot to change something on my Twitch stream.
Oh.
It says
Okay.
that people can win the Twitch League today, and that is just not true. There's no league game today.
Okay.
Give me just a second, guys. I have to fix this. For the guy saying in the chat box that OnetimeJoker must be a moron to argue with me, I actually completely disagree. I mean, OnetimeJoker has been my student for a very long time, and he is an extraordinarily good poker player. And he knows these games way better than I do, and I recognize that. So yeah, definitely listen to what he's saying. I think a lot of poker players do not realize that if you are playing a game on a regular basis, you probably know that game better than people who play higher stakes than you. And you know the tendencies of those players. Like, for example, whenever people pot it in the high stakes games, I don't really think that says a whole lot about their range, but I think in the small stakes games it definitely does. And
yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. And that's just something that I'm not aware of because I don't really play a ton of the small stakes games, whereas OnetimeJoker plays $10 and $20 games frequently, and those are the players who you can really take advantage of if you know about their ranges.
Yeah.
All right, so you raise king 3 offsuit on the button. Seems fine. He pots into you. How do you feel about this?
He goes all in. No, he goes
I'm
all in
sorry.
here.
There's me. I'm one tabling and I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, I think I have decent thoughts to call. I'm decent hand to call here.
Super easy call. Super easy
Yeah.
call. I mean, you're going to win 40% of the time for sure.
Yeah.
Just off of your flush draw, and you're getting 2-1. So, and you have
and the gut shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, min raise call. I guess take a flop, right? You could also 3-bet if you feel like it.
Yeah, I could. I mean, against that guy with the 28 stats, I feel like calling is gonna be a little bit better than 3-betting because these guys are not gonna fold, and ace-8 off against their range, their calling range, raise calling range, it's not gonna do that well. So I would prefer here a hand like 7-8 suited to 3-bet in general against these guys, while against good solid players, I would like to have a hand like ace-8 and have the blocker there.
Yeah, that sounds perfectly fine to me. But you have to be very careful, obviously, after the flop, whether or not you flop an ace or not. So, like, this is a good example of a spot where you could easily get in trouble.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty good in these spots in general, with flopping top pair, bet kicker, multi-way.
Chris Jammed asks, do you find that the players in the small stakes games tend to bet smaller with their good hands? Like, you say they bet big with their big hands. Do you think they bet smaller with their marginal hands, or what do you think small bets mean in general?
Small bets mean they want to see another card, or they want to see something cheaply. If they bet, I don't know, between 20 and 30% of the pot, whenever they're betting like 50 to 60% of the pot, they can have virtually anything, maybe something, some value type hand or a bluff. And whenever they're potting it or they're raising it big or something like that, they usually have the nuts.
Okay.
I mean, like, let's say when I say usually, I mean 75-80% of the time they have it.
Okay, so it sounds like the bigger bets are what generally give you more of a indication that the guy's a strong hand. The smaller bets are somewhat more polarized, or somewhat not polarized, somewhat more balanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually the small, well, they could be inducing you sometimes, but their primary inducing weapon is the check. I mean, you're gonna see limp raising or check raising you on the turn or something, and they also do that.
Okay.
So whenever you see them betting small, I would say they really want to see the showdown cheaply, or they want to see another cheap turn, another cheap river. So mainly they have a draw in that spot.
Yeah, I think that that's actually something I see a lot in the higher stakes games too. When a guy's betting a fifth pot or something, it's often marginal showdown value hand.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so speaking of marginal showdown value hand, here we have ace eight offsuit.
Yeah.
So I guess you're just going to check the flop and check call. Obviously, what else we're doing?
Yeah.
Queen.
I'm gonna check call.
Queen's kind of a nasty turn. I think you could conceivably check fold the turn, but I don't know if you should.
Yeah, it's not a great card for us. I'll probably call a small bet and I'll fold if he bets bigger than 50% or so.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I think so. You have to ask yourself, will this guy bet with king queen and queen jack on the turn? And if he will, you probably shouldn't be folding. I mean, maybe he's betting jack 10 and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But it's a crappy spot for
Yeah.
sure if he bets the turn. Down the river,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to check because if you bet, he's not going to call with too many worse hands. And are you check calling most reasonable bets?
On the river?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If he bets a decent amount, something like, I would probably call a bet that is less than 3K there.
Okay. I think I would probably go a little bit bigger in my typical games, but calling's fine, of course. Folding's okay if you think the guy's really polarized to very good hands, though. I mean, like you said. All right. So you raise. Somebody calls. Guy pots it, I guess. Loose, aggressive guy. How do you feel about that?
Not really sure about this hand. I don't know how many hands I had on that guy at the time of the hand, but against an unknown, if I didn't have a lot of info, I would probably fold, and if I see him having those stats, I would probably fold bet jam on him.
Yeah, I totally agree. With no stats, I think folding's probably fine. But, yeah, if he's crazy, then definitely just shove.
Yeah.
So you shove anyway, so you must have the crazy stats on him already.
Yeah.
And he folds, so very nice.
Yeah.
That is why it's very important to have a heads-up display, for those who do not know. I was actually listening to someone stream the other day, and they said something to the effect of, in tournaments, heads-up displays are not that useful because you don't generate very many hands on people, and also the stats come from different parts of the tournament, and people play different stack sizes with different strategies, which is all, of course, true. But you're going to find that there is, I mean, like right there, we had 18 hands on the guy, and that easily makes, in my mind at least, that shove with ace-queen very profitable, whereas if we had no hands on the guy, I would probably fold.
Yeah, of course.
So I definitely suggest everyone use a heads-up display, but you have to find spots where it's really beneficial and don't lean on it too incredibly much.
It's kind of hard for people to use. I mean, to use the heads up right off the bat. I mean, they kind of need to accumulate a little bit of experience, I think.
Yeah, so start slow. Start with like 3 or 4 stats, or even like on mine, for example, the first 2 lines. Well, I guess the first 3 lines are the stats I use the most, and the ones on the bottom, you see, they don't even populate very much. Those are more for when I'm playing cash games against regulars.
Yeah.
So I think that just using the VPIP pre-flop raise, steal, and fold big blind to steal, I think those are very beneficial.
Yeah, of course.
And they'll be useful.
You can see a player's state tendencies whenever they are looser or tighter.
Right. I mean, that's all you really need to know. Like, is this guy somewhat active, or is this guy generally tight?
Exactly.
And if that's enough. Like right there, if we knew that guy's 3-betting and he's generally loose, we're shipping it. And if we know he's generally tight, we're probably going to fold. So I use Hold'em Manager. People are asking this in the chat. What do you use?
I use Poker Tracker.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a ton of a difference. People have told me Poker Tracker is better. People have told me Hold'em Manager is better. I've just had Hold'em Manager for a long time, so I haven't swapped over.
Yeah.
They're all somewhat similar, and they're owned by the same company. All right, King 5 suited, call, 3-bet, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something you have been doing that I have found to be interesting. I don't really do this a ton, but I've started doing it, and I think that it's probably a pretty good play, where you're check raising with hands that have some showdown value, but not really a lot. And you can
Like-
also make the opponent fold a lot on boards like this when they have equity, like Queen Jack or something. You don't care if he folds Queen Jack.
Yeah, of course. And the main issue with this would be that it's really hard to call this 24K. You really don't really want to fold, but you don't really want to call either. So semi-bluffing here, which you could consider this a semi-bluff, works really well. It's gonna put your opponent in a very tough spot. I mean, even if he has, say, a pair like pocket eights, he's gonna be in a very tough spot right here.
Well, yeah, if he has pocket aces in the turn and he calls and the turn's a whatever a heart, he's just unhappy at that point if he doesn't have the flush draw.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is a spot. So say the turn is a reasonably scary card, an 8, a 6, or a heart. Are you betting again?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
I'm gonna
I
bet
like that. This seems like a great hand to do that with.
Yeah.
And you don't need to go too big, as you see. I think a lot of amateur players make it 8K or something, and I think that would be a disaster. You definitely want to make it small.
No. Yeah, somewhere between 6K. I wouldn't make it less than 6K. So between 6K, I don't know, maybe even 7K. You can go with 7K here. Between 6 and 7, it's okay, I think.
Yeah. So let's say instead of this hand you had Jack 10 of hearts. What would you have done? Same thing?
Jack 10 of hearts. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I totally agree. So you're playing effectively all the semi-bluffs the same. And that is...
I would do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would do it with the set as well. So anything good and anything bad, but not like the middle type.
So that brings up an interesting question. If we're trying to not necessarily be balanced against these players, why do it with a set? If you think they're going to fold a lot of the time.
Well, I still need to get protection with my set there, and that board could, I mean, like, if he doesn't have anything, then he's just gonna fold, and I won't get value with my set. But if he has something that connects with that board, then I may charge him a little bit more.
Okay. Someone asked if I
Would you?
Go ahead.
Would you call there with the set?
No, I
Would you
think
call there?
I think for the same reason you said, the board's really draw heavy, and you just there's so many outs your opponent could have, or just so much backdoor equity he could turn.
Yeah, exactly.
So someone's asking in the chat if I've changed my view on check raising from my book, Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker, which I did write 4 or 5 years ago, I think. And I check raise a little bit more, but mainly in spots where the board should be really good for my range and really bad for my opponent's range. And that spot is fantastic for the caller and really bad for the pre-flop raiser. So
Yeah,
I've been,
exactly like it was before, right?
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have been doing for the most part. Like, well, I don't know. Say the board instead was ace 6-5. Would you have check raised in that spot with the king 5?
It becomes a little bit closer with the ace there because they're playing the ace like crazy here. But if, say, you think you have an opponent that is not going to be raising ace deuce every time, then yeah, it becomes a little bit more tilted towards a raise.
Okay, yeah, and I generally agree with that. It's just tough because if your opponent has an ace, he's never folding ever, or maybe he will. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting spot where it becomes much closer. I have not really been check raising in those spots, but it could easily be good, especially if you can get your opponents to fold an ace by the river.
Like in these stakes, I wouldn't go for a check raise that much on ace high boards.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea against small stakes players either because they do not know that they should be folding some aces.
Yeah.
All right, so here you raise pocket eights, get jammed on, obviously easy call.
Yeah.
Not going to win on that board.
Nope.
Pocket threes. So under the gun, pocket threes, I actually would not be opposed to telling you to fold this if your opponents are all very good, but that's probably not the case.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm deep enough where I can raise, and I can comfortably raise fold even against that guy. I mean, I don't have a problem folding here.
I mean, I'm not folding to this guy.
No.
Well, I mean, you need to win 37% at this point.
And do you think you will win
Yeah,
37?
you're gonna win like 43% or something. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know
I
where.
mean, look at the guy. He placed 34-9.
Yeah, but I mean, he's short. So this is a spot where for the HUD, I'm not gonna say it goes out the window, but it becomes less relevant because we have to assume he's playing at least somewhat competently with a short stack, right?
Yeah.
Or you don't think so?
I don't.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't really.
Give the guy a shoving range. Maybe he calls with stuff like Jack 10 suited and King 10 suited. Maybe it's something like this.
He calls with most pretty hands. I mean, you may find these players calling with pocket fives right here because they want to see a flop and get a set.
All right, so let's assume he's shoving mostly good hands, right?
Yeah.
So against that range, you're 38%, 39%?
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, yeah, I wouldn't give him... I mean, I would take a little... King Jack suited I would take out of his range.
I mean, that's not going to change anything.
Yeah, probably.
So then if he is shoving... So I don't think it's... I mean, it can't get much worse for you. It cannot get worse for you than this. It's only going to get better because we're adding in all hands that you're either flipping against or better than.
Yeah.
So the worst case scenario is 38%.
Yeah, and
you need to win 37 winning. Plus. I mean, you obviously don't want to be making necessarily break-even calls, but see, this is the thing: is that it's either break-even or it's very plus EV. It's very rarely going to be negative EV. And anytime it's either break-even or positive, it's usually good to make those calls.
Yeah. Now that I looked at the numbers, yeah, I agree.
All right, so you call anyways.
Yeah.
And
probably in game I decided I was good enough against his range, but now when I look at these numbers like 34-9 and I see them going all in, they usually have something decent. So
yeah, but I mean something decent you're still getting the right equity against.
Yeah.
You're going to find that against a reasonable range, small pairs almost always have roughly 40%, give or take.
Yeah.
It's usually plus or minus a few percent from 40. So if you're getting, and you're going to find that whenever you raise and face a 10 big blind shove, you usually need to win about 40% of the time, which is right what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
So someone is saying in the chat that whenever we raise under the gun, does that make his shove much stronger? I don't think it does in a six-handed game. I think it does in a full ring game, but under the gun six-handed is very different than under the gun nine-handed.
Yeah. And it's more oriented towards the stats. I mean, that guy had 34 VPIP, 9 PFR. So he's raising 9% and he's calling a lot. So again, I mean, that guy doesn't really see the fact that you're raising under the gun, or if you're raising from the bottom, it's going to be the same to him.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Okay, so you somehow get kings twice in a row. I thought it was a typo in my heads-up display and in my program, but no, you just get kings twice. So you raise, call, and then this guy, very active player, 3-bets you. So what do you think about this?
I think this is a tough spot, honestly. I would love to call here, but I feel like the other two players are going to call as well. So I don't really want to play a three-way pot with pocket kings, but at the same time, I don't really want to scare the three-better. So maybe I should make it like 30K.
Yeah, this is a tough one because, like you said, you really don't want the initial re-raiser to fold. Or you don't want the re-raiser to fold. So I don't know, man.
And the button, I'm pretty sure he's gonna call if I call here. I don't know about the guy who called 4K. Maybe he's gonna call another 11K. He's playing 56-38. This is gonna be a crappy spot to play three-way with pocket kings.
Yeah, so I like the re-raise, just looking at it, mainly because of the button. I think the button is the main deterrent here. If you were heads up, I would definitely call.
Yeah.
But with these stats, I think, or these stack sizes, attacked, I think you do need to re-raise. So I'd probably make it 30K. You do 38, so why 38?
Uh, I don't like it. In game probably I thought that I should not I should make it a little bit make bigger than a min raise just to look to, I mean to look more bluffy because a min raise I thought it would look very strong. So
Yeah. So my problem with this is that I like the idea of min raise. I like the idea of making it a little bit bigger than min raise in general. But given your stack is only 100k left, it's not going to look like he has a ton of fold equity if he shoves.
yeah.
So this is one of those spots where I think I would definitely re-raise very small. Just given the stack sizes left, you always want to make sure your opponent can shove over you or think he can shove over you.
Yeah.
He calls though. That's good.
Yep.
He checks the flop. I guess just bet very small, maybe 22k or something. So you do 32k, and I think this is again the same thing, probably just a touch too big.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like
I
you're
agree.
folding again.
Yeah. It looks.
He shoves though, so that's good.
Yep.
So what do you think about his pocket jacks hand? How do you think he should have played this? Let's look at it from his point of view.
I mean, I don't mind the 3-bet pre-flop because you don't really want to play pocket jacks with so many people. So I don't mind that. When I'm 3-betting here, he should probably shove or fold.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I agree with that too, mainly because the flop's going to be so bad. Or the flop could easily be bad. And the thing is that if the flop is good, like it was, he could still go broke.
Yeah.
So yeah, just shove.
So shove or fold. I mean, he can perfectly fold here. I'm raising early out of position. I mean, I'm raising UTG and he 3-bets me. I fold bet him. He can definitely fold their pocket jacks with 40 big blinds. I would fold against most people. And here, I mean, my stats are not as high as they look. I mean, probably I was 15, 12 or something.
It seems like everyone in the chat says they want to 3-bet and then fold to a 4-bet. And I mean, I know that me personally, very rarely am I 3-betting with a premium hand, and Jacks is a premium hand 6-handed or 5-handed really. I would not be 3-betting with the intention of folding. If I'm 3-betting, I would be looking to not fold. And if I thought I was going to have to fold, like if that's a reasonable outcome, I would probably not 3-bet in the first place.
Okay, so
I would 3-bet get it in, for sure.
Okay.
But it seems like everyone in the chat saying 3-bet fold, and I think that if the options are.
Then if you see me playing like 15, 12 with a 5% 3-bet.
Yeah, just call pre-flop.
Call pre-flop.
Yeah,
okay.
You do not have to 3-bet king pocket jacks pre-flop.
Yeah.
You just don't have to do it. You do not have to 3-bet just because your hand is good.
Okay.
All right,
yeah,
so
you're right.
Min raise, small blind, you 3-bet king 6. That seems fine. He checks, you bet. So interestingly enough, I probably would have gone a little bit bigger.
You want to balance, right?
Yeah, well, I would have just bet bigger in general, I think. Mainly because you want your opponent to fold sometimes. You don't want your opponent floating you with random stuff because he's going to win a lot of those times. For everyone listening, my computer just had a light that started blinking on it, so if my computer dies, I'll try to figure out a way to get back on here. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, right here I thought I was deep enough where I can double barrel if he calls, but I don't know if I should double barrel.
Well, I think that if you bet small, like really small like you did, you have to double barrel.
I have to double barrel, right?
Right. So I'm okay with that. I think if I'm betting bigger on the flop, usually the plan is not to double barrel.
Yeah.
So I would go one of those two. I think if you bet small, I like the double barrel plan. I think if you bet bigger, though, say you bet 13K, I would probably not.
Yeah.
Someone says which light is blinking? The power light. The one that matters. All right. Okay.
I don't really see anything blinking.
No, you can't see it. It's on my computer. It's like on my physical device.
Oh, okay.
On my laptop. It has a light around the power button, and that light is blinking.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. Good luck. All right. Open jam queen 10. That's super standard.
Yeah. You
So
get it straight.
someone asks, would I ever flat with jacks out of position compared to 3-bet fold if I decided that I don't know enough about my opponent? Like, say I had no hands on my opponent whatsoever, what would I do? And that spot, I would just 3-bet get it in. I think jacks are,
Yeah, I
jacks are
agree.
good
In a
enough.
in a s- yeah, in a 6-handed game, yeah, 3-bet get it in. If it was 9-handed and you had 40 big blinds, what would you do then?
9-handed and 40 big blinds facing under the gun raise, I would definitely just call. I'm not 3-betting very many people there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right. Again, there are a lot of questions coming in, and I just cannot answer all of them. So I apologize if I'm not getting to yours today. This is One Time Joker's coaching session, not yours. All right. Min raise 8-7 suited. Stacks are pretty deep at this point. So what has happened here?
I don't know. Stacks are merging. I mean, this is a deep stack tournament, and people just don't have patience to play deep stacks. So, huge stacks are gonna come.
This actually happens a lot in World Series of Poker events because they start you off with some chips, but everyone's average stack gets down to like 20 big blinds after the first 4 hours or so. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts busting, and then the stacks get back up to 30 or 40 big blinds. So, kind of interesting. All right. So you continuation bet seems perfectly fine.
Yep.
So 7 on the turn. How do you feel about this card?
I'm thrilled about this card. It's a great card for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not gonna scare him that much. I mean, whatever he has, he's gonna continue here. I mean, I feel like this is the kind of player who would call again, maybe not with Queen Jack, but maybe with King Queen, Ace 10, or Ace 9, something like that. He's gonna continue.
All right. Yeah, that sounds fine. So I'm fine betting the turn, but if you get raised or something like that, it starts to become really nasty.
Yeah, yeah. He may have something like pocket nines, which is kind of crappy.
Yeah. All right. So on the river, I'm probably checking this river. Check.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, if he bets the river, what is the plan?
How much?
Maybe 38K. You know, somewhat standard-ish looking bet.
I mean, I kind of have to call, right?
I feel
think
like
I'm
you
gonna
do.
call. I feel like I'm gonna call. I can't really see a fold.
Yeah, I concur. It's not a great spot, though. You're certainly not happy about that scenario.
No.
All right, so I need to pause the video soon. So actually, let me pause the video now, and I will be right back in about, 30 seconds. And then we are going to raffle off a video series of 40 hours worth of coaching I've done with One Time Joker in the past. So you guys hang out for about 30 seconds, and I will be right back. All right, so we are back. What we're going to do is we are going to raffle off the One Time Joker coaching series. This is actually a 70 video series where I go through and teach One Time Joker how to play. So check that out. It's a fantastic coaching series, and it really does show me taking One Time Joker, who whenever I first got a hold of him, he was you were a good 18-handed sit and go player, right?
Yeah.
That was effectively his game, and now he plays multi-table tournaments. I mean, he's won the bigger 55 on PokerStars for 40K or something like that. And
yeah, I had a few 5-figure scores. But I like, honestly, how I started playing poker was just by watching Float. Actually, it wasn't called Float a Turn. It was an older site where you had videos, and I learned from your videos, and I made like 15K in MTTs as well before we started the coaching thing.
Well, very nice. And
just by watching your videos.
What more can you ask
Yeah.
for? But yeah, so I definitely think that anyone who actually really wants to learn can learn if you actually spend a lot of time and work hard and apply yourself. And that's what you did, and that's how you got here. So you guys, we're actually going to raffle off this. What you need to do is you need to type !raffle into the chat box. So I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to type this in, and whoever wins this, I will send you a message, and then I will get you these videos within a day or so after I get done with this. We have a question. Do you still offer 1 hour hand history reviews for $100? OnetimeJoker?
Yeah. I'm doing personal coaching for $100 an hour.
Okay, and if you guys want that, you can go to floattheturn.com, click on the coaching section, and you'll find information on that. So how do you like getting coached by me? While these guys are
I love it.
While these guys are typing in the raffle.
Oh, I love it. It's great, and I'm really interested to see the later dynamics of the 600 tournament, because I haven't really played a lot of 600. I think it's our first review of a 600 game, right?
Yeah, I think that is true.
Yeah, so
these 6-handed tournaments are interesting because the play is often very different than 9-handed, just because people's ranges are very different.
Yeah,
and it's really important to try to quantify what people are going to do very quickly. And
yeah, like very quickly, I would say that people are trying to play a lot of flops, a lot more flops in the 600 than in the 900, and they play bad post flop, especially in the $10 games. So that's my. I think I should play with them post flop a little bit more than I did in this tournament.
Okay. All right, so we are going to close the raffle. It is closed, and we are going to draw for the winner. If the winner's not here, they will not win. I have a winner. Let's see who it is. It is Like a Fool. Like a Fool. Like a Fool is the winner. This person is following me on Twitch, so thank you for that. And if you type something into the chat box, I will send you a message, and then I will get the video series, initially valued at $1,000, over to you. Actually, $997. So, not quite $1,000. All right, so Like a Fool has not typed anything in the chat box to me yet, but
yeah, we should give him a little time.
we'll give him a few minutes. So Like a Fool, if you're not here, bad beat, man. All right. All right, so we'll continue going through this hand history. So yeah, we'll give him a few minutes, and if he doesn't show up, we'll go from there. All right, so we're still in this tournament, about halfway through it, and under the gun limp. So how do you feel about this limp?
I am pretty comfortable with this limp. Occasionally he's gonna have aces or kings, but for the most part, I'm okay. I'm okay raising. I'm okay checking here. I think both options are fine.
Like a Fool is here. I will now send him a message. Give me just a second.
Congrats, Like a Fool.
Congrats, Like a Fool. Exactly. All right. So we have that, and we're not done raffling stuff. After I'm done with this coaching session, I'm going to be raffling off my newest ebook for you guys, and I'll give you information about that as well. All right. So Guy Lemps. It's interesting because he has a 5% preflop raise, 27% VPIP, right?
Yeah. So I do think he has some strong range when limping, but that's gonna be a small part of his total limping range.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with all that. And you like to raise. I think I would probably check, but raising's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't want to do anything to dissuade people from limping. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I feel like if this guy wants to limp under the gun every time, I'm more than happy to see that happen.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
So we shouldn't attack them every time.
Not from out of position, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Limping, whatever. You go either way. I don't think it matters too incredibly much. So
okay,
yeah. All right. You continuation bet. This seems fine. He calls. That's bad.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this turn?
I mean, I really want to bet again. It's a very nice turn. It's very scary. I'd like to bet again, but I'm not sure if I should.
I mean, the board obviously changes a ton, right?
Yeah,
So I'm a fan of betting when the board changes a ton. And any bet you make now is going to make him feel like he has to risk his stack.
Yeah, I totally agree. The thing is, with this player, I'm not sure he's gonna fold a jack. I mean, that's what I'm thinking right now. Is a 27-5 going to fold a jack on the turn, or he may still think he's good. And if I bet here, do you think I'm gonna have to go all in on the river? I mean, we're betting here with the intention of going all in because that's a thing that I don't really know. If
I mean, so it depends a lot on if you think the guy's going to jam with a flush on the turn. So if you think he's going to shove with all of his flushes, then you definitely want to shove the river because he's not going to have a flush, right?
Yeah, I think on the turn he's gonna shove with most of his very good hands, say King Jack, Jack 10, and or better. I think he's gonna shove.
Okay, so I'm fine betting the turn and then betting the river. I don't think that's too insane.
Yeah,
Someone's
I'm
saying,
not sure. I'm not sure if he's gonna shove for flush though. But we can take out two pair type hands and
yeah, someone's saying in the chat, why not pot control with 8 high by checking? But you have to realize if you check and your opponent bets this turn, you need to fold. So it's not like your ace high is not good. I mean, we are definitely bluffing at this point.
and in general, whenever you have a hand that you don't really want to call with, but you think is good enough to bet with, then bet with it.
Yeah, so I'm okay with betting. You like to check though. That's fine. I mean, checking's fine. I don't hate it. I mean, the board's terrible.
Yeah.
So now do you bluff the river? I like a bluff at this river. Because if he does not have a flush or a boat, he's probably going to fold.
Yeah.
Good river bluff. A river bluff seems pretty standard. We have a question from someone that asks, where did it go? We both seem to be very knowledgeable. What helped you the most in your poker career? What has helped you the most, Alex, in your poker career?
Working on the side. I mean, you are working while you're playing, but you should also review your hand history and do the math on the side, and that's gonna help you a lot. And of course, you need to do coaching. I mean, I think coaching is the thing that will guide you to doing your homework properly, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of value in having someone there to keep you accountable. And also someone who's, ideally better than you so they can help you and teach you and you can learn from them. And
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely beneficial. And really, I totally agree that just studying and working hard on the side was by far my biggest thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I were on my own, I wouldn't know what to study and what to think about. But after doing the coaching sessions and everything, I get to ask more questions and find more answers on my own, based on the coaching sessions that we just did.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and that's
go ahead.
And that's basically what's getting you a pretty good poker player, because while you are getting coached, you're not gonna have time to find all the answers in a coaching session, and you're not gonna be able to get all the info that you need from that.
Yeah, I really think that being coached by someone, it makes it to where they can point out your flaws, and then you can know which flaws you need to fix. Because, like you said, if you're on your own, you don't know which flaws you need to fix. So yeah. True Gambit says, is it not dangerous to bet when the fourth heart comes on the river because every heart will call? The answer is yes to that, but you have to realize that your opponent's going to have a heart about half the time, maybe a little bit more, and our bluff needed to work 30% of the time or something like that based on our bet size, so it's going to be a very good spot to bluff. You do lose a lot of the time, though. Like, anytime your opponent doesn't flush, he's always calling, and we know that when we bet. So.
Yeah, that's a spot where usually both players are scared of the board, so the player that's gonna take the first initiative is going to win most often.
Yeah. All right, so well, you calling all in with kings, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Jack 10 suited facing min raise from a kind of active guy. How do you feel about this?
I really want to shove here. I mean, he has a wide enough range where he's gonna fold a lot, and if he calls, we're not in that horrible shape with Jack 10 suited. So I really want to shove.
Yeah, I would definitely shove as well. You called though.
I called.
I mean,
Well,
I don't hate. Calling's better than folding.
yeah. It's
I
better
mean,
than...
if there is a hand you like calling with, stuff like 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited, all of those things are fine. They're fine to call with.
Yeah, no, but in general, I'm pretty 3-bet happy in these spots. That's what I'm where I'm looking at like this. But maybe I had some info on that guy. Maybe he called slide, so decided to call instead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's opening so often though.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, his steal percentage is not too incredibly high. But whatever, yeah, I would just shove. See, this is a spot where we have 34 hands on the guy, right? And we can't deduce too much from it. But we know he's certainly playing more hands than the 8/0 guy, right?
Yeah.
So we know he's not a nit. We know he's opening at least some. And that would probably lean me towards shoving. And I think shoving's fine just as a default.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so check flop. You bet the turn. I think the opponent's going to have a lot of ace highs and small pairs, right? And just air? Small pairs, ace highs, and air?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, you hope so. You bet the turn, he min raises.
I mean, we got a call, right? We have open-ender.
I do not think you need to call here, actually. I think you need to fold.
Because
you need to win 17% to break even, and you're going to win 20, but you don't know you're going to win 20 because he could just have a boat already. Or he could have something like the nut flush draw.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't think you have all the outs and you don't know which outs are clean.
Yeah, you're right.
So I would just fold this one. I mean, if it was based like purely on pot odds plus implied odds, then I think the answer is sure. But
we have also reverse implied odds in this spot. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just fold.
Yeah.
And you never win when it goes check. That's the other. Well, maybe you win sometimes, but you're not going to win too often when it goes check. If you had something like, I don't know, ace 2 of diamonds, maybe I would call it the raise on the turn because then you're in a much better spot, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this hand has no.
Then I'm bidding. Yeah.
And he actually had ace 6. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What was the board? Okay, gotcha.
he got me there.
He gotcha. That happens sometimes. You can't be too unhappy whenever that happens.
Yeah.
Poker Pete says, "What's the difference between cash games and tournaments?" There are a lot of very gigantic differences, and we will not be going into those today. Open shove, 8-6 offsuit. This seems fine. Very standard shove 8 big blinds into a net because he's not going to call you very often. Pocket queens. I like the min raise. Don't really know what else you could possibly do. He checks, you check behind. So I feel like in the past you probably would have continuation bet this, kind of like I used to continuation bet this, but I've toned this down a little bit.
Yeah, and now I really like it, especially against guys who don't have a lot of chips. Like, for example, if you had 200k right there, I think continuation betting would be kind of okay. But even then, against a defender, I think checking would be better.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all of that. So check flop. He bets the turn. You're definitely calling, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't check to fold. So.
Yeah, you're not checking to fold. That is accurate. All right, 6K on the river. So.
I can't really make a lot of this. I don't think he has a king. I think he has kind of a 9, maybe pair of 6s, something like that. So then should we raise?
Well, are you bluffing when you raise?
No, to get value from a 9 or something.
I think that's a little bit optimistic.
Yeah.
So I like call. I don't really see what else you can do. I mean, I think raising is somewhat thin, given the guy's somewhat shallow stack.
Yeah.
So just call.
Just call.
You raise though, and I don't like it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't hate it. I guess I should make it clear. I do not hate it, but I think that I don't know if he's calling. I don't know if he's calling with the 9. That's the problem, given his shallow stack.
Well, the idea would be that if he bets so tiny, he only bet one big blind, he would find a call because then he underrepresented whatever he had, and I may bluff him.
I think you're thinking too much about this.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the guy
I'm
probably
going.
the guy has a king or a nine, and he may fold the nine, but he's never folding the king.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
But yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't really like that play. I would have called, but I don't think raising is insane though, because I do agree that his hand is a marginal made hand, and pocket queens beats a lot of marginal made hands.
Yeah, that was the thought process there, but I should just take the call in these spots. It rarely works.
I mean, so it seems like a lot of people in the chat really hate the raise, but I do not hate the raise that much, because I do think the opponent, when he bets one big blind on the river, remember he bet one big blind into a 10 big blind pot, right? That's a spot
Yeah.
where his range
He's
is
basically
it's face up as a
yeah,
marginal made hand.
and he's basically saying I want you to call one big blind, and I don't really want to put more money in. He's kind of scared in a way. So when you raise him, he basically underrepped his hand, and he's now thinking into a call.
Yeah, so that's the spot where in a higher stakes game I would actually consider a raise, but I just think given his stack size, it was not
Yeah.
it was not a good play, and it was not turning
Yeah,
the
I
hand into a
agree.
bluff. The opponent could easily call with a nine. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. All right. So anyways, here you raise continuation bet, then you bet again on the turn. It looks good. Ace queen guy limps again. You jam for his 10 big blinds. He calls. That's perfectly fine. So he had pocket twos. That's actually definitely not the way you want to play pocket twos in that scenario. You much rather just open shove so that you make your opponent fold sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, ace eight offsuit. How do you feel about this one?
Uh, I can three bet, I guess. I like the three bet. Seeing that we are four-handed, probably we're getting close to the final table bubble, so maybe we're 20 something players here. So I think it's gonna work a lot.
Yeah, I like three bet. Seems actually very standard to me. You don't want to call, you don't want to fold. Folding would be okay, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know, man. Looking at this guy's stats, if these are all from six-handed, which they probably are, this guy seems very nitty. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
but
know. I mean, I could fold to this guy. I don't think it would be insane.
yeah, yeah.
Youngblood saying that
perfectly
ace
fine.
eight is not a good three bet hand. I mean, it's actually the ideal three bet hand because it's not good enough to call, and it's not. It's a little bit too good to fold, but it's so. I mean, you want to be three betting a polarized range, and ace eight is a hand that's not good enough to call, but it still has value / a blocker. So it's a very good hand to three bet. All right, anyways, you three bet, he calls. You bet the flop, he calls. Turn equity. So on the turn, he has a pot size bet left. So I like shoving. If he had something like 500k, I think I would probably check.
Yes.
And I would be checking to probably check raise. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And would you check raise all in?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Check raise all in. So you're going to check. He's going to bet 150 out of his 500, and you're going to shove.
Yeah.
Then have lots of fold equity and whatnot. So that's good.
Yeah.
Min raise the ace three. Continuation bet looks fine again. On the turn, you decide to bet again. So how do you feel about this turn?
Well, I don't know. Since I bet kind of small on the flop, I don't really mind betting here on the turn. It does hit his range a bit, but I still think it's gonna work quite often. The thing is that I don't like the sizing. I think I should have made it like 60k right here, a little bit more.
Yeah, you want to definitely apply pressure to try to make him fold fours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He jams on you, so of course you fold.
Yeah.
Interestingly, should you have just shoved this pre-flop? Let's take a look at it. So, no. Somebody suggested that in chat. The answer is no, you should not shove this pre-flop. These guys are way too deep stacked with 20 big blinds.
Yeah, they have 20 big blinds, and I mean, it may be a. Do you think it's a profitable shove there? I
No,
mean, CEV.
no.
No.
No, not for 20
Okay.
something big blinds from
Yeah.
the cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's not. All right, ace jack, we're obviously getting it in. Poker Pete asks, are we raising ace 8 to be balanced? No, you're not really raising it to be balanced, but you don't want to re-raise with only premium hands. So I guess maybe it is to some extent you could call it balanced. It's really just to, I think re-raising ace 8, I mean, what are you going to do with it? You're going to start folding it?
I mean, I would say re-raising as a bluff.
Yeah, it's a bluff.
That's...
But, well, the question is then what's the point of bluffing if you don't need to be balanced? And I guess what that amounts to is that you're bluffing because the bluff is going to be profitable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the bluff is just purely profitable in that spot.
Yeah. You haven't 3-bet in a while, so balancing by bluffing there is the best option.
And I mean, really, that's just a very standard spot to be bluffing. You need to be bluffing sometimes, and it's just a good spot. All right, anyways, 5-2 offsuit. This is good flop for 5-2 offsuit.
Yep.
Check, check, check the flop. I would have considered betting the flop, given the button limped. Anytime it's a limped pot, I'm a little bit more inclined to lead with my value hands. So I think that would be, I think that would be fine. Yeah, I probably would have bet.
Yeah, I'd like that. Yeah, I like that. I like the lead on the... I'm still not used to leading. I mean...
It's not really a lead, though. Right? Because
since it's a limp pot, yeah.
Yeah, so it's more of just a bet. You can't really... I mean, you can effectively lead, but you don't really... It's not the same as a lead into a pre-flop raised pot.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and also there are some bad turns for you. Like, you don't know if a 6 is bad. You don't know if an 8's bad. So I like betting in this spot in particular.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Turn, they check. I would bet bigger at this point because you want to be getting a lot of money in by the river. So I'd probably be betting something like 32K.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Because no one's ever folding a jack anymore. And no one's folding a 7. And no one's folding a draw, no matter what you bet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so just bet bigger because they're going to call with the same range.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So now do you just put it in, I guess? I mean, there's no point in calling.
Yeah.
You'd probably be happy if you folded.
Yeah.
All right. What is this? Min raise from this guy you like to call. Seems fine looking around, but you have to be careful.
Yeah.
This is how you're going to win a poker tournament, I bet. So yeah, they checked you.
Yeah.
You think you should check behind? You seem unhappy about the bet.
It's kind of a bad board to be betting, but since they both checked, I mean, yeah. Oh, okay. I thought no. Well, hold on a second. I thought I had pocket 3s.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you need to bet this board.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they give it to you. It's always rough. All right, so you call all in, of course. You guys will see I don't really pay much attention whenever you have easy decisions because there's not really much to say about those. You know, we don't really care who gets it in and who wins and all that stuff. I try to ignore the spots that are super easy.
Yeah.
All right. Ace 3 offsuit. This guy raises, you like to re-raise small, effectively putting... Oh, you're not effectively putting them all in. I'm sorry. He's very deep stacked. How do you feel about this?
I don't like it, mainly because he... yeah, but... Yeah, this is the final table.
Okay, so this is a long final table.
Yeah, this is the final table, and this guy... he probably had different stats than it looks right here because we played short-handed a lot.
Okay.
So again, against these stats, I don't really like a 3-bet, but at the time of the hand, he probably had way tighter stats than this. So I thought I would try him out, put a bit of pressure on him.
Okay, yeah, that seems fine to me. I mean, I'm never opposed to applying pressure to a guy, but I think I'd probably make it a little bit bigger out of position.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, you guys are both pretty deep, so it's not like we're playing 30 big blind stacks or anything.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably make it more like 80K.
90K or so.
I was going to say 80.
Hey. Okay.
But whatever. You 3-bet, that's acceptable. Seems like a good flop to check. So I like that. Check, check, flop. I'd probably check the turn. You check the turn too. Good. River, do we value bet at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think value bet's good too. So the problem with value betting, if there is a problem with it, but one of the problems is that your hand looks like a marginal made hand, or it looks like nothing. But I mean, are you really checking twice with nothing in the spot? I mean, just no.
Yeah.
So, your hand looks a lot like what it is at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's usually not ideal, but whatever. He is going to call a lot of marginal stuff.
Well, we don't really care about that stuff in the $10 games, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm always thinking slightly differently.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, maybe betting the turn's better.
No, because it gives him more courage. I mean, if he has something like pocket sevens right there that he just checked, and if he checks again, then he's gonna probably call on the river.
Right. Someone says, what hands are you getting value from when you bet the river? Oh, you're definitely getting called by any pair. Or I would think you're getting called by most pairs on the river. So
yeah, I think you're gonna get called by 6-7, pocket sevens, pocket fives probably not. Any 9, 8, 9, 7, 9. Maybe even king high sometimes if your opponent goes crazy, but I don't think so.
yeah.
Anyway, pairs in general.
All right, this guy raises, you 3-bet, seems fine. You get jammed on by a tight guy. I mean, I would call. What else can I do?
We're getting great odds, so gotta call.
Too good of pot odds.
Yep.
Same guy raises, you 3-bet. This is 3 hands later. He jams, so of course you fold.
Yeah, and I think he has it. I mean, I don't think he just went like to a 4-bet jam on me because I 3-bet him this final table. I think he really had it there. He was this straightforward.
I mean, I don't know. I hear you telling me straightforward, but his stats do not look straightforward.
That's because we played I mean, we are getting close to 400 and...
I guess, but I mean, he's not a nit, is what I'm saying. Like this guy, Smiths as a nit, right?
Yeah,
This is what a tight guy looks like, even four-handed.
Yeah.
So I mean, this guy, he's active enough. I don't know. He's probably just like tight aggressive, generally tight aggressive. All right, so raise you 3-bet again. So you're really getting after it here. I'm okay with it. I mean, what else are you gonna do? So. Do you ever consider jamming in this spot when he 4-bets you?
Not this guy. He's the shortest stack at the table. I really expect him to call if I jam on him, and he put a lot of his stack in. So not against this guy. Not now.
Oh, okay.
Well. Okay.
You do it. He folds.
And
I was gonna say I don't hate it. I mean, you have proven clearly that you're 3-betting a lot.
Yeah.
And so this guy should be I mean, people are going to start 4-bet bluffing you sometimes. I mean, this is actually really similar or somewhat similar to that hand I busted on in that $200 tournament the other day, if you remember.
Yeah. The ace jack hand.
Yeah, the ace jack hand where, you know, you're not in good shape against his range if he calls ever, but you have a blocker. You look crazy. if you look crazy and you have a blocker, it's never too terrible.
It's never terrible, yeah.
All right, so king 10 offsuit, probably call. So looking around the table, this guy has 35 big blind stack.
Yeah, 35.
It's funny, the chat has gone silent after the ace-8 offsuit hand. So yeah, fun stuff. All right, so you call, check, flop.
Yeah, maybe we should explain to them what are blockers. So blockers are, say I have ace-8, then whenever that happens, I'm reducing the combos of ace-kings, ace-queens, ace-jacks that he can have, and also we reduce by 50% the chances that he has pocket aces. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean.
So
Go ahead.
So you have So whenever you have an ace and you're gonna three bet, he's gonna play back at you less often because he doesn't have those great hands so often.
Yeah, so the spot we were referring to is I was at the final table of the Full Tilt Major tournament. It's a $250 buy-in. They run it every Sunday. And there's this kid
Sunday.
on my... Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's this
The Sunday Major.
Yeah, Sunday Major. There's this crazy kid on my left who I've played a lot with in live poker. And I know he's bonkers. So someone raised, I 3-bet. I'd been 3-betting a lot. He 4-bets, folds back to me at ace-jack offsuit, and I went all in. For the same reason, I have blockers, right? I have the ace. I have a jack in my hand, which actually makes pocket jacks about impossible. And so now I'm only really worried about ace-king, kings, and queens.
Ace-queen.
Yeah, I mean, so... Yeah. But even then, if he does call, it's not like I'm dead. I still have some small amount of equity, like, whatever, 25%. And he called me, and I lost. But here, the opponent did not call, which makes me feel better about my shove. Because it is possible they do fold sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so anyways, you call here, check, flop. You bet the turn. I'm probably betting the turn and betting the river if I'm in the spot. Ugh, bad river, though. This is a bad river because it doesn't change anything, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, most rivers, I don't think they're gonna change anything here, right?
well, I mean, I guess an ace is bad because he probably has an ace a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. So maybe you just bet the turn so you can bet the river if you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truth Teller says that there's some deep free betting stuff in here today. This is good stuff. Well, if you want more of that, check it out. JonathanLopoker.com/goingpro, and there's a lot more of that. Oh, someone asked, what did he have when I shoved the ace-jack? He had ace-queen and made I would call it a big call, but it was actually a standard call given how crazy we both were playing. All right, so you do bet the river here, and you do bet big. So you're betting, obviously, to try to make him fold the ace-high.
Yeah.
And I don't like this because the river's the 2. If the river was like a jack or something, a jack or a 9 or an 8, maybe I'd be a little bit happier with this.
Because you think they're going to call with ace-high?
Well, I think they're going to call with ace-high less often if the river card is a bigger card.
Yeah, right.
But a 2 feels so blankish, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just don't. Also, yeah, it's sort of interesting because if he has ace, notice if a 2 comes on the river, that improves ace 2 and ace 4.
Yeah, he's gonna have easy call with those.
Yeah, say the river's an 8 instead, it doesn't improve ace 2 and ace 4. It only improves 1 ace.
Yeah. So
the 2 and the gut shot rivers improve more hands.
2 combos. Yeah, more combos of aces. Yeah,
right.
You're right.
So I would be more inclined to bet those for just multiple reasons. I would not have gone for it on this river, though. He did have pocket ace, so he's just never folding.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it either. I think that was a little too optimistic.
Yeah, I like the turn bet, do not like the river bet. Okay, so raise continuation bet. Again, do whatever you want. It's what it amounts to. I mean, really, on the flop, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you play well later in the hand. And here we are, later in the hand. You did whatever you wanted on the flop. Now here we are. So now we have to play good. So what are we going to do on this river?
Very close. I think I'm going to look him up. I mean, we checked the turn, checked the river, so there are still some hands that we beat. It's not that great of a spot, but we don't have to call that much.
Yeah, so flush draw missed, king jack and ace. I'm sorry, ace jack and ace queen missed.
Yeah. We're bidding like he may try to bluff here with the hand like pocket sixes.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 5 might bluff, maybe small pairs bluff. So yeah, you should call. Yeah. I like call.
Wow.
Wow, super nit.
Okay.
What happened?
Yeah, super nit. I don't know.
All right, well, misclick.
No, it wasn't misclick. I probably didn't do that range in my head at the time.
I mean, you
really
probably knew the guy was a nit, and the guy's just never bluffing you. But
yeah, probably. I have another stat on these guys that it's aggression frequency by street and overall and by street. So I see there how often is he betting post flop and stuff like that. So because of that, I may go for a fold sometimes.
I would just say be careful with those stats because those are kind of like, river continuation bet frequency or whatever, to where it doesn't populate too quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't rely on those too much for that reason. I don't rely on the turn and river stats just in general. because
Yeah.
it takes so many hands. Like right here, notice I have 126 hands on this guy. Or let's look at you. We have 500 hands on you, and we do not know how often you're folding the river yet because we haven't had 10 samples of that.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy, right? You play 500 hands, you have not been in 10 river spots where you're facing a bet yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you're right.
who knows? All right, so you raise, our guy raises you 3-bet. You're 3-betting like a maniac at this final table. That's okay, though.
We can afford it.
You can afford it. All right, so you call pre-flop raise. It seems fine. Just check folding. Oh, no, you check raise. Okay, so tell me what you're doing here.
I don't know, putting pressure.
All right.
I honestly, I don't really have a reason right here, but I feel like that guy's range is a little bit too wide and his c-betting frequency is decent, so went for it.
Yeah, he has continuation betting a pretty good amount. I mean, if you take a look at your stats, though, as a comparison, you're c-betting 91%, he's c-betting 71%, so it's not like he's...
Yeah.
Not like he's crazy or anything, but he's active. But
yeah.
Do you... I mean, I guess this is a board he should continuation bet with a lot of hands, right? Even 3-ways?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's probably fine. I don't think I would have done this, but I don't mind it. I actually think I should probably find more spots to do stuff like this. Because, I mean, obviously you don't want to only be check raising with the nuts because your opponents can fold every time.
Yeah.
All right, and let's see how much trouble you get into when you do this. Oh, okay. He calls, so that's good. And you have to bet the turn, right?
Yeah.
Your flop check raising range
Yeah,
should be sets and draws.
Yeah, so this is a beautiful spot, but can we check here to bet the river? Do you think that makes more sense? Because when he calls here, I'm pretty sure he has an ace, and right here he may find a call with an ace.
So, do you think he's going to find a call with an ace on a non-heart?
No, I think I'm over leveling right now. I think I should just shove on the turn.
I think you should shove too. I hate it, but I think you should shove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the perfect card to shove here.
Well, you'd rather the 8 of hearts come off. 8 of hearts would be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. So, shove it in. Check turn.
Okay.
Well, I would still. So now I don't know if you need to shove at this point. I think maybe you need to bet small. Because now you're. I don't think you have to put in your whole stack to make him fold.
No, I think he has an ace here.
So
and if I bet small, he's gonna call 200k or so.
All right. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Like what how would I play a flush in this spot, right? And it would probably be 200k, but maybe I'm leveling myself, like you said. So just shove and make the guy fold all of his aces.
Yeah. I mean, 200k. I think he's gonna call. Maybe he'll think about it about 300k, but I'm not. I mean, I can't really say for sure if he'll call or not, but he's definitely gonna fold an ace to a shove. I feel like.
All right.
He's gonna have a very tough time calling a shove.
Yeah, and I mean, worst case scenario, you're still just potting it, which is not like a gigantic bet.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he folds a bad flush somehow if he has ace with a bad heart.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, so he raises you jam. That seems fine given his stack size. Get it in good and lose. Raise, continuation bet, check raise. All right, so this is effectively a min raise. Well, I think I'd probably fold, but I'd be unhappy about it. How do you feel about this one?
Can we ever call for like another 86k?
I mean, I think that's the other option. I don't think you need to be re-raising too often. But
no, I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna re-raise here.
This is another one of the spots, kind of like earlier, where you don't know if your draw is clean.
Yeah.
So, and also the problem is like, also you don't know how he's gonna play if he actually has a flush draw and hits on the turn. Because say he hits his flush and he checks, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're bluffing off a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I'd probably just fold.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to be able to reliably pick it up often enough, and the guy seems active and somewhat tricky enough. Or at least he seems active, right? And I give active guys some credit for being capable of playing somewhat well.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I would have just folded. He bets turn. Now I would fold again.
Yep.
All right, min raise call. So calling's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling. I think 3-betting's acceptable, but whatever, calling's fine.
Yeah.
You like to check raise again, so you were just check raising every hand.
And against this guy, it's not working.
I do not like it against this guy. He's clearly not believing you.
Yeah.
I mean, so what should we do on this flop, right? Let's go back to this. So you check, guy bets 90K into 150. I actually think folding would be too tight. Because we have overcards, we have flush draw equity, we have straight draw equity, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind the check raise in this spot. I also don't mind check call very much. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you could have the best hand. I think a lot of people don't realize that you could just have the best hand with king high at this point.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm cool with check raise or check call. I think check folding would be too tight.
Okay.
So you do the check raise, it doesn't work, and then the board runs off bad, and the guy's not gonna fold anything to you.
Yeah.
So a little bit unfortunate you got a bad card. Again, though, like say a spade comes, now you're stuck bluffing off a lot. All right, so something apparently happened and we got heads up.
Okay.
All right, so heads up now. It's always nice.
Okay.
This guy busted everyone.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about heads up as we go. This is what you want to do heads up. So flop the nuts.
Min raising. Yeah.
No, I mean flop the nuts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He checks, you bet. It's perfectly fine. He calls, which is fantastic. He checks, you bet again. He calls, which is fantastic.
Yep.
So when he checks the river, do we jam or do we bet smaller? So you have to ask yourself, is he ever folding a queen in this spot?
That's why I shoved, because I didn't think he would fold the queen. He may be, but I went with it. I thought he wouldn't.
Okay. Wait, you thought he wouldn't? Wouldn't fold, you mean?
Yeah, he wouldn't fold. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. I mean, the thing is, the 6 gets there too, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. The problem is that he looks like he has a queen or a 9 or a bad draw at this point. And obviously, the bad draws are irrelevant. But if he has a queen or a 9, I don't know if he's calling a shove. I think the board ran out too scary. So I think I probably would have gone smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're right.
And you have a 6, so that makes him having a random 6 less likely.
Oh, would you go for like 400K here? 400K bet?
Yeah, I was going to say something like 380. I was thinking in my head.
Okay.
Apparently, Karina does not understand my terminology for the nuts. Whenever you flop a hand that is good enough to get all in with, that is the nuts. And this quantifies. So your opponent did call the queen, so clearly I'm wrong.
Well, I may have a little bit more info than you do. I may have seen him, how he busted the other guys or stuff like that.
Okay. All right, so this guy min raises, and you decide to min 3-bet. What is happening?
No, this was a misclick. I remember the hand.
All right.
I wouldn't min 3-bet him.
Well, if you're going to misclick again, so I'm going to say it again. You have the nuts again. You make the nuts on the turn.
Yeah, which is great.
Especially against this guy who doesn't fold. River's an ace, which is actually very bad for you because this guy could be the type of guy who's going to call down with ace high.
Yeah, he's going to float a lot with ace x, so... I'm going to check call. Probably I'll check fold if he jams, and I'll check call if he bets a decent amount.
I'm just trying to think, man. You might should check fold the river.
Yeah.
As nitty as that sounds, because I think he's going to check behind with a jack a lot of the time. And
yeah,
I mean, what draws could he have on the flop? Right, there are none.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
also
right.
call the turn.
Right. So I should check fold. Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, I hate check folding in this spot, but I think it's probably ideal. If that's what you're going to do, you probably want to be checking with all of your aces as well.
No, I love check folding in the spot.
Yeah.
So
Very rarely am I
if
trying
there's
to. If there's a spot to fold that is the spot, I think.
yeah, I totally agree.
Rough river.
Yeah.
All right, so you check raise again on the flop with the middle pair. I think check calling's fine. Oh, check raising's fine. Do whatever you want. This guy just never folds to you though, so I think I would chill out check raising against this guy. In general,
Yeah.
especially out of
Yeah.
position because he is not letting you run him over.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And I think I did that. I mean, at this point in the tournament, I thought, okay, he's definitely playing back at me. So
Yeah. Well, if you think he's playing back at you, meaning you think he's jamming with a lot of stuff, maybe you could call in this spot. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it's a little bit too risky, and I feel like he has plenty of leaks where I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I generally agree. But if that's the case, I think you probably shouldn't be check raising in this guy, or you shouldn't be check raising
Yeah.
too often.
Yeah, no. At this point of the tournament, I think I'm done with this kind of play. I'll probably check raise with the intention of getting it in next time.
Okay. All right. So in this hand, he min raises, you call. I think calling with this is fine. I think you could conceivably 3-bet.
Yeah.
But whatever, call's fine. I prefer call. I think calling is ideal.
Now against this player, yeah, I want to play smaller pots with him where I can make him make big mistakes because he's not the kind of guy that you can push around. So I'll try to.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm probably not check folding the flop. I mean, how do you feel in this spot if you check guy bets? What are you going to do in that spot?
What do you mean on the flop or
Yeah, on the flop.
on the flop? If I check and he bets, I don't really like floating here. I think it's a little bit, it's high variance, and we established that I don't really want to check raise anymore. So I'm just gonna let him have it on the flop.
Okay. All right, yeah, that sounds fine. So on the turn, you decide to check call now. So what's going on with that?
I don't like this. It's basically the same logic. I mean, this king. It may have been because the king is a very good bluff card, so I decided to call here.
Yeah, I agree. I think calling is good because he may easily check behind on the river.
Yeah.
And then you just win sometimes.
Yeah.
So you decide to check call the river too. I actually don't mind this. All the draws miss. You could easily have the best hand.
Yeah.
So I think this is acceptable. And he did have the bluff, so it's always sweet when the guy has the bluff.
Yeah.
All right, he limps. Do you remember if we started limping at some point throughout this?
Yeah, he started limping when he got down from 3 million to 1.2 or something. He was limping and raising. He was alternating it.
Okay. So if you can deduce something about the limping range, like say you think the limping range is very weak, you can start raising him sporadically.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes it was weak. Sometimes it was. I mean, he did limp re-raise me at some point, so he was balancing a little bit.
Okay. So I would probably not be attacking him too much then.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good flop. Again, you flop the nuts.
Yeah.
For those who do not know the terminology, this is the nuts heads up. And it goes check, check, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna bet now.
I mean, I guess I would just bet the turn and bet the river, right?
Yeah.
Let's go for full value. Kind of big on the turn and kind of big on the river, and I like that. I think this is good. This guy doesn't like to fold to you.
Yeah.
So
That's
just bet big and get full value. Easy game. He makes a call. Wait, what's happening here? Okay, you min raise. He 3-bets. So has he been 3-betting much?
Yeah, he's been 3-betting a decent amount. I haven't been 3-betting against him lately in the heads-up game, but
Okay, so how do you feel about this? Were you just folding to this pre-flop, or are you going to take a flop?
I'm thinking about taking a flop, honestly.
Yeah, so this really does depend a lot on how often he is 3-betting you. If he's 3-betting you a lot, I don't think you need to be folding. But if this is the first time he's 3-bet or something like that, I think you need to fold. Because your hand's just not very good and you're not getting great implied odds. So it really does depend a lot on that. So
yeah,
yeah, whatever. You can go either way. He bets flop. Obviously, this is not a great board for you. It's important to realize this is not a great board for you, right?
yeah, it's kind of a terrible board, and I'd like a fold here, right here, even though I have a pair.
I think you need to fold this one too. I don't really like this. I mean, this is why I don't want to be calling with this pre-flop, because you're going to flop middle pair a lot of the time. And here you flop worse than middle pair.
Bottom pair, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I would just fold this as well. And you're folding it because you're not in great shape against overcards like ace king and ace queen and king queen. 9-8 beats you. Queen 9 has a lot of equity. Any queen or any jack or 10 has a lot of equity.
And we can get bluffed as well.
And you can get bluffed, exactly. So I would just fold this.
Yeah.
He checks turn. That's good. And you jam. Why are you jamming?
Well, I thought he was super weak here, so probably he induced me.
I would not jam this. I would check behind, and I would hope to check it down with the best hand, and I would assume he's going to bet with mostly the best hand on the river. Like, I don't think he's bluffing. Yeah. I don't think he's bluffing with king queen on the river. If it checks through, he misses. Yeah. So I think I would just check behind and try to get to showdown. I mean, this is the ideal hand you want to try to get to showdown with. Yeah, because he's not folding a jack or a 10.
Yeah, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, so this is effectively a protection bet.
Yeah.
And protection bets are almost always bad.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, so pocket queens obviously is never folding. If the river was an 8 and he bet the river, I would if the river was anything, if the river was a 2 and he goes all in, I'm just folding.
Yeah, I don't like this hand. It's very dirty.
Poker Pete's saying, aren't the effective stacks too small to be calling with suited connectors pre-flop? They would generally be if your opponent had to have a strong range. But heads up, your opponents could easily have a very wide range, and if your opponent's 3-betting you a lot, you just cannot fold a lot.
Yeah, heads up, it changes a lot.
Yeah. All right, so he min raises, you call this. I mean, this is fine, but this has to be near the bottom of the calling range.
Yeah.
You check raise kind of big in this spot. Why are we doing that?
Well, it's not that big. It's like 3x or so.
I guess he bets so small on the flop, so it's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Check raise flop, bet turn. That's good. I'm actually kind of surprised he folded 2 on the turn.
Yeah. I'm surprised as well.
If he calls your turn bet, what's the plan when you miss on the river? Say the river's a jack.
I hope he doesn't have an ace.
I mean, see, this is another spot where
I'll probably shove. Because he can call me. I mean, I can't really bluff him with any size, and my hand is just gonna lose a lot. But I think he may find a fold if I shove here.
With an ace?
No, I hope he doesn't have an ace.
I mean,
no, not with an ace. He's gonna call me with an ace, but he has other stuff in there.
I guess that's an important thing to really quantify, like how much of this guy's range is a 7 or 5 that he will fold. And if the answer is a lot, then you probably should shove the river. But if the answer is none, then just obviously don't shove the river.
Well, based on how he called me so far, I think he has a 5 and a 7. A decent amount.
I don't know, man. I think he could have the ace. You think? I mean, you think he's going to re-raise with the ace?
No. I mean, he's gonna play it exactly the same way, but I think he's gonna call here with stuff like 7-8, 6-7, 5-6, I don't know, maybe even 5-4 on the flop and on the turn as well. He's gonna call me with all this
Yeah, I guess that's all
this
true.
range and being heads up, he may have here stuff like Queen 7 and Queen 5, Jack 5 suited, all these kind of hands.
I get, the more you're talking it out, I think you're actually right about this, to where this
So
guy in particular is just not folding to
yeah.
aggression, like most people. So I like it. So what do you think that he folded whenever he folds the turn after he calls your flop check raise then? Because that sort of
Um.
like flies in the face of what we just said, right? We thought he's going to call the turn a lot, but now he's folding.
Uh. Hmm. I don't know. Maybe some king highs, king 10, maybe queen jack. He may find a float with those. Does that sound crazy? No.
I
No,
mean,
it is kind of crazy. So, uh, maybe a hand like pocket deuces. No, he's not gonna fold that. I don't know what is he folding here, honestly.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
can't find I can't find any range actually.
right. So, man, I don't know. It's just weird because that makes me think now that our assessment that he's going to call the turn a lot was probably not right. So maybe he is maybe he's just calling the flop check raise with maybe king queen or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a lot of sense.
So we have someone in the
Maybe.
chat asking if he's calling the turn a lot, why do we semi bluff with the 8 high? And that's because if you bet the turn, you can shove the river and then get your opponent off a lot of the marginal made hands. So the only way to realistically bluff with this hand is to bet the turn and then bet the river, if we're going to bluff with it. And
Yeah.
and we don't. I mean, we know some amount about the guy's river calling tendency because he's called down light a time or two, but I don't think he's insane. He's not going to call with 5-4 on the river if you shove.
Yeah.
People in the chat are saying maybe he's floating with backdoor flush draws with overcards, or backdoor flush draw with big cards, etc. And maybe that's it. Maybe he has king queen of spades or something. That would make
Yeah, he
sense.
could also have no, he can also have stuff like 8-9 that are gonna call maybe once on the flop and then give it up. Or gut shots or yeah. Yeah, and they're right. Maybe backdoor flush draws. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I'm just sure because we don't think he's folding a pair, so he must not have a paired
Yeah.
hand. So it's like gut shot
Yeah.
or overcard, gut shot or big cards.
Yeah, good point.
All right, raise, continuation, bet, flop, check, call. Check, check, turn. I like this. Don't really know what else you could possibly do. River he bets.
I'm in love with the spot. I'm gonna call. Can't really raise, but I love to call here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we can raise. Probably not, right? It's just
No.
fairly thin. Fairly thin.
Yeah.
A little bit too thin. All right, so you grind him down. Does anything happen? Where does he lose his chips? You just completely grind him down. He folds every hand. Is that what's happening here? Or he's min raising or jamming a lot?
Yeah.
Now he gets short. You jam. Well, so it's always nice when your opponent just lets you grind them down. Sometimes if you find yourself heads up with a guy who's playing too tight, it's really easy just to min raise every hand or then jam a lot whenever he raises and you'll just crush him.
Yeah.
All right, finally guy jams, you call. Easy call. So that's always nice. It's always nice to win a little tournament.
Yeah.
How do you feel about? I mean, I guess in general, I think you played the tournament fine for the most part. You were. I would probably suggest you check into the check raising a lot on the flop because you check raise a lot on the flop throughout this game.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel that's working in general?
In general, I feel like it's working, but against this guy, it didn't. So I kind of stopped doing it with with very bad hands. But I did it then with the open ender, and I would try to go with like semi bluffs. Try to check raise these kind of guys, because then I can bet the turn as well, and if it doesn't work out, I can jam the river.
I guess the one I'm remembering is the Jack 10 suited one. You remember? where you
Yeah,
at?
yeah, the check.
So
Yeah, that was a little bit crazy. So,
all right.
mhm.
All
But
right.
in general, it works. It works. Against this guy, it didn't. He kind of knew how to um, how to take the pressure.
Yeah, he knew to not fold. And I think that if you're against players who know to not fold to check raises, then obviously don't check raise. But I think you will find if you play a lot, even with good players, they are going to assume your check raises generally mean fairly strong hands.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, they're going to fold a lot, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Do you have anything else you want to say to all the people listening today before I let you go?
Yeah. Thanks for watching this hand history, guys, and I appreciate the questions and everything.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you on Skype whenever I'm done with this. I'll be done in just a few minutes.
Okay. Cool.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that was One Time Joker. For those who missed it, you can actually get over 40 hours of my coaching with One Time Joker. And you can check that out at floattheturn.com/goingpro. And you guys will be able to get a significant discount on that if you want it. I am now going to talk to you about my newest ebook, and I'm going to open the raffle. You guys can type !raffle, just like I just did. And you'll be entered to win a copy of my newest ebook, Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Tournaments. I recognized that whenever I started streaming on Twitch, there were a lot of players who were not really comprehending some of the more basic things I was talking about. And I wanted to produce a concise ebook so that they could learn to play poker and learn how I am thinking somewhat quickly. So the book's not too long. I think it's maybe 50 pages or so. And I think you guys will enjoy it. So for you all today, or if you're on my email list, if you're not on my email list, sign up at jonathanlillpoker.com. I send out lots of free poker training content. If you buy the book is only $4.99, by the way. It's extraordinarily cheap. I'm trying to make this accessible to everyone. If you post your review on Amazon before March 13th, email me a screenshot at support@jonathanlillpoker.com of your review. I will send you a free one-page tournament cheat sheet that discusses the things that I make a point to think about before, during, and after the tournament. A lot of you guys say you already bought it, so that's awesome. I appreciate that. And if you guys like the book, if you guys like this stream, please share it with your friends, because if no one watches my stream, I'm not going to do it anymore. So, yeah, check that out. You can, I actually wrote a little bit about the book at jonathanlillpoker.com/ what was it? My brain, I'm losing my brain. I don't know. Check it out, jonathanlillpoker.com. It was one of the more recent posts. It's right there on the homepage. All right, I'm going to close the raffle now. And I am going to draw a winner. The winner is not following me. If the winner's not here, by the way, the winner does not get anything. I'm tempted to not give it to this winner just because this person is not following me. The winner is PokerDog59. I cannot comprehend how PokerDog59 is not following me on Twitter, but if he is here, he will get a copy of Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Tournaments. Wow, there's a guy called Dogs18, but that is not PokerDog59. Close. Also, for those who do not know, every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, I stream a home game poker league. Oh, here's PokerDog. PokerDog is here. PokerDog is here. He is the winner. All right, so PokerDog, I am sending you a message on Twitch. Figure out how to access your messages. But yeah, so reply to my message with your email address, and I will send you the new ebook. But yeah, for those who do not know, every Monday from now until the World Series of Poker, I am going to be streaming, whenever I'm available, my poker home game league. You can check it out at jonathanlillpoker.com/homegame. Thank you to RM Hudspeth for posting that link of the strategies. So yeah, jonathanlillpoker.com/homegame. home game, I will be playing in that as often as I can. There are only going to be a few weeks when I'm not going to be able to play, whenever I'm playing European poker tournament events. So it's fun. I mean, I get on there, I play, I stream my play, and then whenever I bust, which I've busted very quick every time so far, it's been a real treat, I then stream the rest of the final table and give a little bit of commentary and answer everyone's questions. Basically, we hang out and have a good time on Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. The winner of the entire league will actually get a $1,000 buy-in World Series of Poker or European Poker Tour event seat, $500 in expenses to travel, and also they'll get to have lunch with me and have a coaching session. So definitely check that out. Also, there are prizes for the winner of each individual tournament. Those players all get $100 towards my coaching packages. Anason asked if I offer any coaching geared towards live cash games. I actually do. I have some few videos. My most recent one I just put out, where there's probably one that's slightly better for you. That's it's where I review Live at the Bike footage. Live at the Bike is a cash game where people play live with whole card cams, sort of like World Poker Tour or something like that, but it's cash games. And I don't know the exact URL of the website for that, but you can go to jonathanlittlepoker.com and click on the products section and look for it in there. All right, so that is going to be it for today. I appreciate all of you being here. Again, especially if you play small stakes poker tournaments, check out this book, Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Tournaments. Again, I made it cheap so that everyone could afford it. I did not want that to be an excuse. And if you like the book, please share it with your friends, because I want to help people who want to learn how to play poker. And if you guys want to learn to play poker, your friends probably want to as well. So again, thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you next time.